2063 as one of the pillars, that the development of the continent have to be pupil-centered. So the AU have to start thinking of not just of member state, but of African citizens, of the well-being of African people on all the program, on all the policies. And in this regard, we have in our department, we share with you that we have the 10-year action plan on human and people's rights for the human rights decade. And this action plan development has been very inclusive because we had consultation at all levels. Member states did the final validation, but before that, there was consultation with civil society representatives. There was consultation with a National Human Rights Institution representative. There was a consultation with various stakeholders working on human rights issues. And now we came out with a comprehensive strategic action plan for the promotion and protection of human and people's rights for the decade. The decade is going to start this year, 2021 to 2030. Yes, the decade was supposed to start in 2016, but because of the request to have a comprehensive consultation and inclusive consultation to make sure that we take everybody in consideration. We take women rights in consideration. Women rights stakeholders was consulted even twice. Gender expert was consulted also on the action plan, and people with disability, and yes, all the AU organs, was also part of the process. The African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and the African Court on Human and People's Rights came together to do this work, to develop this action plan, because it emanated from Assembly decision from 2016, where the member state, all the AU member state, head of state decided that we should have more synergy on how we work in the area of human rights. And this action plan is going to help us to move in synergy by complementing each other with the role of civil society, with the role of AU organs, and also member state. So we really appreciate your work and what you are doing. And the 10-year action plan is not our sole program. We have also many other programs. We have a commemoration on human rights events, and during those events, all member states are called to make sure that the citizens are brought on board and also sensitized on various issues. Recently, we had a commemoration of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, and that commemoration was 7 April and has to continue for 100 days after the date of the commemoration. It will present also the starting point of the genocide, and this is a platform to sensitize all the African people on the genocide, and also to fight against the spirit of genocide, and to make sure that genocide doesn't happen anymore on the continent. And also we had official celebration, and during the official celebration, we make sure that we live stream the event, and we have a lot of participants. This year we have more than 700 participants who attended directly to that event during the celebration. We also have a transitional justice policy adopted in 2019 by the head of state of the AU member state. And this policy also is to guide country coming out of conflict, yes, on how to gently have a good transition process, and also an inclusive transition process and transparent transition process to build a peaceful society. So this policy, as part of the implementation, we have developed a roadmap for the implementation, and that includes some activities that the AU is going to carry out. And in that process, again, we make sure to bring the AU to the community. And as part of that, we have a program called New for Transitional Justice program. And under that program, there is a training that is ongoing now. The preparation is ongoing now, because we already finalized call for application, and young people from across Africa, particularly from country experiencing conflict or coming out of conflict, has been selected new for between 22 and 33-year-old have been selected, and they are going to get a training on how to best implement the transitional justice policy, and also how they can impact in the community and make sure that all the process is inclusive, the process take everybody in consideration, and that no one is left behind. There is also a program, Women for Transitional Justice, and we also have an annual continental forum on transitional justice, and that forum is held on a yearly basis. This year also we are going to have a forum. It will surely be on virtual, because usually the forum used to happen in Addis Ababa. And this forum really bring all stakeholders in the area of transitional justice together to think about the transitional justice processes, to learn about best practices, because we make sure that all country, particularly those experiencing conflict or coming out from conflict, are represented, and is a platform to share best practices on how well countries are doing, and in terms of implementing transitional justice processes on the continent. So this one is also opportunity for us to really engage in the process, and also bring the AU to the community, and make sure that people are aware of what AU is also doing in the area of transitional justice. And in addition to that, we have also various program. Ambassador Salah talked about the AGA, the African Governance Architecture. During our meeting we had with Hussein and Zena. So this is also a platform. This is a platform of all AU organs, and also REX having a mandate on democracy, governance, human rights, refugee, yes. And there are many clusters, as he introduced. And the AGA have also similar programs to engage the citizen of Africa on the work they are doing. And they have a youth engagement strategy that has been developed and is in place. And they also engage young people through that program. They have a women engagement strategy that has been also put in place, and they really make sure that everyone is, no one is left behind. And in addition to that, if we take the Department for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, in the peace and security area, they have various programs making sure that women and youth and citizens of Africa are bring on board of the work we are doing. Yes, we have a Youth for Peace program. That is a program also run under the Directorate of Conflict Management of my department. And we also have a Gender Peace and Security program, and that target women participation. We also have the FemWise initiative. FemWise initiative is a component of the panel of the WISE that target women, and also implementation of the UN resolution on women participation to peace peace issues. So women, African women, are selected and trained on mediation and conflict prevention, and also part of that platform that also make recommendations on conflict-related issues, and also participate in peace processes on the continent. So the department is doing a lot, and I think what I can say is particularly regarding our portfolio. Yes, I think those are some of the things that we share. I just share with you. Yeah, and we can still continue the discussion, and the AU also is engaging through our website. We have a lot of press releases that appear on the website. We have also statements on particular situations, and also we engage with civil society organization, and sometimes we receive alert from civil society organization because some of them send us reports and just to call attention on particular situation in some part of the continent. So for now, those are some of the things I can share with you. And I really, on behalf of the leadership of my unit, Ambassador Sala, and my directorate, Mr. Calix Aristide Mbari, yes, I wish to thank you for this opportunity to interact with you, because we think this also is a platform for us to bring the African Union to the community. So yes, I wish to thank you very much for the opportunity, and we are still open to continue the discussion, as I have been also assigned as a focal point for Aki, and we'll be working together to make sure that there is something good that will come out from this initiative. I thank you very much for your intention and for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Seraphine. As we all have had, there is a lot that is going on from the AU, but then the question is how? How do communities then get to engage, if possible, even direct with this kind of processes? How are the community voices going to, contribute to the new strategy that, AU is looking at? So coming up, I would like to invite my sister Chipokota Mwanawasa from Zambia to just take us through the plenary session. In case you have any questions, kindly either put it on the chat, as I already have seen one, or please raise your hand so Chipokota will take us through that session. Thank you. Chipokota.
Thank you very much, Zaina and Madam Seraphine Kando from the African Union. I won't take up too much of an introduction, because we would like to hear from all these experienced voices from across the continent, all the way from South Africa up to Northern Africa. I've seen people putting in the chat box. As shared with us, the African Union Human Rights has got a lot of different instruments, that we can take advantage of. However, it's also been highlighted that the interest, especially for our group this afternoon, is how do we engage at grassroots level? How do these communities who are being affected by human rights challenges, whether it's freedoms of speech, freedoms of political association, religion association in the different countries. Without further ado, perhaps we could just get any questions from the audience or contributions. It would be nice for speakers to introduce themselves by name and just state what organization and or country you are coming from. I'll also be looking at the chat if there are any questions. There's already a question, perhaps to kick us off, from Sibanda. I don't know, do you want me to read it out, or you're okay to ask it?
Okay, I can ask it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Patsan Sibanda from Zimbabwe. I just wanted to ask, out of interest, where is the African Union at with regards to the Peace Fund? Because the last time I checked, it was supposed to be fully functioning in 2021. in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wanted to check with Seraphine, how far has the African Union go with regards to collection of the funds? Because this I'm asking because one of the challenges that has been there within the AU is the ability to fund peacekeeping missions as a continent on our own. So I just want to find out where we are at as a continent in terms of the fund. And maybe to add on to that, since I've been given the opportunity to ask, I'll also ask the second question to say, looking at the African Union system of human rights, it's kind of discriminatory towards the sexual minority groups, for example, the LGBTI community. So what is the African Union human rights system doing to ensure that? I'm saying this because of an organization which was retrieved its observatory status, CAL, Coalition of African Lesbians, something like that. I'm sorry if I mentioned the name wrong, which was an indication that as it is, the African Union is still discriminatory towards sexual minorities. So again, my question would be, what is the AU doing, or how can those organizations that serve the marginalized communities contact the AU moving forward? Thank you so much.
Since we already have two questions, maybe you'd like to respond to those. Please feel free to raise your hand or post your question in the chat box. Madam Seraphine, would you like to respond to those two questions?
Thank you very much, Shipo Kota. I hope I pronounced the name well.
You can call me Chipo as well.
Chipo, okay. Thank you. Yes, regarding the Peace Fund, particularly, I'm not been working on the Peace Fund, so yes, I cannot take engagement to give information on the process here because yeah, I don't have verifiable information regarding the actual status of the fund. So regarding the sexual minority right, so what I can say here is that the AU is all the member states are not on the same understanding of the issue or same acceptance of the issue, and yes, the actual status or position, the actual position of let's say the AU, because is an intergovernmental organization, yeah, is not, I don't want to say is not in favor, is in favor of the promotion of the right of everybody as a citizen, and the African Charter is a concern about everyone. But I think the group sexual minority group is the one that is not really accepted like universally actually, because it depends on how certain member states understand the issue. And yeah, this is what I can say about that. Some people can call it discriminatory, but I think the AU is at least working for human rights promotion, and the right of everybody is to be considered in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Make it clear that there should not be discrimination of any regarding the sex, regarding the age, of the race, of the skin color, of ethnic group, appartenance of anyone on the continent. There should not be discrimination. And I think the Commission and the AU itself are working to make sure that all the African people are protected. Yeah, it's just that that box of sexual minority is not yet universally accepted, and this is what I can say regarding also this issue. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Actually, that's a critical human rights issue. I think recently we've seen some cases in South Africa of a young female student who committed suicide after she was taunted by her fellow pupils for her sexual choices and orientation. So this is a critical issue. But we have another question. Perhaps Mr. Hussein Khalid, you'd like to ask it verbally rather than me reading it out.
Thank you very much, Bokota. Madam Seraphine, in your presentation, you spoke about a 10-year human rights policy that is actually supposed to commence from 2021. So I was just wondering whether it's the final document now and whether it is available for people. Is it on your website, or if maybe someone makes a request, they can get the policy? And if it's not the final document, is there room for input for particularly grassroots organizations that may be hearing this for the first time, that there's actually a 10-year human rights strategy that the AU seeks to implement? So just more information about it and whether it's accessible on website or any other place.
Okay.
Perhaps before you answer that question, are you able to take on another 2 questions so that you can answer them at the same time? Because we have some hands raised and looking at the limited time we have. We have Taonga and Bongi Nkosi. Perhaps we can start from Taonga, and then Bongi Nkosi, you can follow after that.
Thank you so much, Ibo. Hi, my name is Taonga from Malawi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Oh, great. I'm the executive director for an organization called, a local organization called Gender Governance Institute. So I'm really delighted to be here. My first, thank you so much, Seraphine, for taking us through what AU does. And I know maybe because of time, it wasn't possible for you to actually tell us what exactly the mandate of AU is or is not, because some of the questions I might be asking might not be within your mandate. So the first critical question for me is, I know we have all these processes like engaging CSOs in our respective countries to be part of the, to drive the process of community engagement. I'll give an example of Malawi when we have the country reporting on CEDAW or country reporting on Beijing, or even the recent one you're talking about on human and on the HPCR, I guess. The question is, most of these, when they take place in our respective countries, they take the top-bottom strategy. Most grassroots organizations are not part of that. So I wanted to know if you really have another strategy that really infiltrates it at community level, so that maybe the communities at the grassroots level can be part of this process. And again, on the same, instead of maybe having particular times to engage the AU, do we have a consistent process of how we can engage the AU? I'm saying this because we've had gross human rights violations. I think they've given an example of Mozambique, and Chipo gave an example of the girl in South Africa. And in Malawi, we've had gross violations maybe by public officers, raping women. And then we also have rampant cases of rape and stuff like that. And some of these issues cannot be resolved within the country. They might need regional interference. So when there are all these emerging issues, I don't know how quick is the AU to act. Maybe I need to ask that. And again, the voice of the AU, for me, for my institution like Gender Governance Institute, it doesn't infiltrate to us. So how do you make sure that that takes place, even besides having that CSO engagement that reports periodically? And again, because of, I think, lack of funds, someone has already alluded to the fund issue. Because of lack of funds, you might find out that the human rights organizations like in Malawi, they might not be able to go to the grassroots to collect data and stuff like that. Do you have a strategy where you as AU has the voice to make sure that you do comprehensive research on such issues so that you really capture what's happening at grassroots level? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Taonga. I think you managed to fit in many questions in there, and I hope they were captured by Seraphine. Perhaps we can then get to Bongi's question as well, so that we have a comprehensive roundup of responses before we end the session.
Thank you. My name is Bongo Sikrai from South Africa. I am a leader in the Black Lawyers Association student chapter, UNISA, Florida. Firstly, before I even ask my questions, I have comments. I'd like to say to my lady there, and I'm going to be brutally honest, and I believe that as Africans, in our engagement, we need to be as robust as possible. My sister, I want to say to you that African Union is useless, number one. Number two, we don't know African Union here in South Africa. We hear about it, but we don't know it. All we know is that our president, Cupcake Cyril Ramaphosa, was a chair there, but we have not seen his work. And I want to say that the African Union has failed African people. And we cannot distance ourselves from the fact that when we have serious issues in this continent, whereas the African Union is supposed to be the one leading with solutions, instead the African Union is constantly silent. It's as if there's a spirit of laziness in that African Union. But let's leave it. It's an engagement for another day. Now, I have 3 questions for you, my sister. The first question is that what is the strategy?
I hope you'll be able to summarize your 3 questions.
I'll summarize them. The first question is, what is the strategy of the African Union to deal with gender-based violence in numerous countries? South Africa, number one, we've seen a scourge in gender-based violence. I'm sure it's the case in other countries. We just don't hear about it. Number 2 is, what is African Union doing to deal with religious wars in Africa? As we are seeing them grow immensely, like we're seeing now in Mozambique. And then the last question, why is it that African Union is not implementing African solutions for African problems? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was brief indeed. Sarafina, just so you have about 4 questions, more or less, from about, is the human rights policy document accessible? Is it done, or is there still room for input? We also had Taonga there from Malawi speaking almost on similar lines with Bongi about gender-based violence. Lots of issues raised there. And Bongi also mentioned further about religious wars. And I think there's a general question about, how quick, does the AU respond, and how engaging are they to grassroots communities?
Thank you very much, Shipok. Thank you very much, Shipok, for summarizing again those questions, and thank you for those who are really interested about what we are doing, and also raising the question for reflection. So regarding the 10-year action plan, is a strategic action plan. The correct name is Strategic Action Plan for the Promotion and Protection of Human and People's Rights, and it's going to be for the Human Rights Decade in Africa. So as I told you, the process was very inclusive, and the process started in 2016. 2016, that after the member state in July 2016, during the summit where they took the decision that the Department of Political Affairs and all the AU organs with human rights mandate should come together and develop this action plan. And all stakeholders was consulted, the regional economic communities, the civil society organization, the gender expert, women rights expert, disability expert, national human rights institutions, always consult. But we just let the member state validation at the end, but because at the end of the day, they are the one who are going to own the action plan, and they are the one who are going to lead the implementation at a national level. So all the consultation regarding the plan was done. There was also a website that has been created specially to get people input to that plan during the development process. And that website was created in 2016. And the major consultation during the process was held in Arusha in 2016. In November, during the high-level dialogue on democracy, governance, and human rights. And that high-level really bring a lot of people together from civil society organization, from also national human rights institutions. So during that high-level dialogue, there was a special session with civil society organization on this action plan. And in addition to that, we went further to say that it's necessary to continue the consultation processes. And we had a meeting with various experts, gender experts, women rights experts, and various stakeholders from civil society organization to make sure that all the input are included. So at this level, it's no more possible to do amendment to the document because it has been brought to member state level. And member state had a validation workshop on the document in December 2019. And after that, the document was reviewed. We were supposed to have a final because they made also the comment, the input, and what they want us to correct from that plan. And we were supposed to have a second validation, and due to coronavirus pandemic, finally, we have to share the document with all member states for them to send us their input, and then the document has been finalized at this stage and is going to be presented to the PRC, the Permanent Representative Committee, Subcommittee on Governance and Human Rights for consideration and for further submission for adoption. So at this level, it is not possible to do amendment to the document. But if someone have something he can send to us, we can still consider it maybe during the presentation to the PRC, but all modification that can be done to the document at this stage should be by member state, because all has been concluded, and when the document will be adopted, it will be published on the website and in all AU languages, and we will make sure that it's taken to the grassroots level, and is going also to be a guiding framework for the member state in redefining or rethinking the National Human Rights Action Plan. So this is one of the objectives of that action plan. This is what I can say about the 10-year action plan. Regarding the response of the AU about communication or how citizens can engage with AU and how quick they can respond. Yeah, I think we have a mechanism in place regarding children's rights. We have regarding children's rights, we have the committee of experts on the rights and welfare of the child. And the committee have also communication procedure, and everyone that is normally the people eligible to file a communication in front of the committee are people that feel that they have interest in the issue, or yes, they can just file a communication. They don't need to be personally involved in the issue, but they can say the commission on issue regarding child right violation. And regarding the commission, you remember that the commission have a special mechanism, and those special mechanisms are put in place to allow the commission to function effectively. And communication can be submitted to the special mechanism. And every citizen in Africa can submit a communication, can say the special mechanism. And even when you go to the website, you can find the contact of the special rapporteur or the special commissioner for the special working group, and you can also send your request, and they will do the best to respond to that. And also when there are human rights violations on the continent, they make sure that they send someone, they send a mission to do investigation, to have also the understanding of the issue, and also to make recommendation to the particular member state, and also the user report, because member states have obligation under Article 62 to submit report to the commission on how they are implementing the charter at national level on all the measures that they are taking regarding the implementation. So the report also is an opportunity to make again a recommendation and ask them to improve the situation. And there is also a civil society shadow report to make sure that the Commission don't only consider the report from member states, but also consider report coming from civil society, accredited civil society organization, to make sure that they have a good understanding. And all this report, the Commission submit a report to the chairperson of the African Union Commission on all the various violations and everything that is happening. And also we have a Peace and Security Council. The Peace and Security Council is means of a representative from member states based in Addis Ababa to the AU. And during the meeting, they take decision regarding human rights, peace issues, security issues, and also humanitarian. And they listen to various report are present to them to inform their decision on what is happening. And also we have this situation room in the AU, and it's not that the AU is not following. We have situation room also help to really follow everything that is happening on the continent regarding human rights violation. In addition to that, in my department, we had a program called Human Rights Observation Missions in particular countries. And those observation missions are mandated by the Peace and Security Council or initiated by the department based on human rights violation allegation in certain parts of the continent. So we had a human rights observation mission like in Democratic Republic of Congo, in Central African Republic, in Mali, in South Sudan, in Somalia. So we deploy human rights observers in those countries, and they submit a report on a weekly basis on everything that is happening regarding human rights situation, human rights violation, and also what has been improved, and they are doing analysis of the situation, of the political situation. And also they provide capacity building to those states. Not just members, not just the government, but also CSOs and African people and students in universities on human rights, and also on the African human rights mechanisms for them to be informed about what the AU human rights system look like and how they can interact with that system. And the AU human rights system, you have to just keep in mind that it also includes the REX human rights system. It's not just the AU human rights mechanism, but in addition to those human rights mechanisms, we have three main mechanisms. Is the commission in Banjul, we have the court in Arusha, and we had the committee of experts on the right and welfare of the child. They were here in Addis Ababa, but they will be based in Lesotho. And those are core human rights mechanisms that we should interact with in regarding human rights violations on the continent. So when there is a violation of child rights, you have to try to know the website of the Committee of Experts on the Right of the Child. You will get information about the special rapporteurs on various thematics, like for children in conflict or other related issues. You see, for the commission also, we have various thematic areas. We have a special rapporteur on the right of women in Africa. So this one will just lead me to respond to a question asked about gender-based violence. So we have this special rapporteur on the right of women in Africa, and we also have a court. So certain issue can be taken to the court, but this special rapporteur is the entry point for a gender-based violence, for violence against women, for any type of violation of women's rights. This is the special rapporteur. is the focal point, is the entry point also. And they are made available because you can get the contact on the website of the commission, and then you can submit a request, or you can submit a violation. You can notify them of violation. And when they will be alerted, they will take necessary measures to investigate about the information they receive, and also to take decision on what they are going to do regarding the situation. Yes, so this is just my response to the issue of gender-based violence. To the gender-based violence, also, I want to add that we have in the African Union a gender directorate, a gender and development, women gender and development directorate. And this directorate is also leading the work of the AU regarding gender issues. They make sure gender is mainstream, and also gender-based violence. They make sure that there is paradigm shift in the policy regarding how we are looking to the gender, and how the roles are played, and how we can improve the situation for gender equality on the continent. So the directorate is directly placed under the chairperson of the African Union Commission. I can talk about it because I have a experience working with them many times on women rights issues. So they have also a gender strategy. I think this is something also you should look at. You should try to look for the gender strategy of the AU. They are the one who lead the process for the development of this gender strategy. And it was also very inclusive, and yes, all member states was also part of the process to develop that gender strategy. In addition to that, we have two additional section who are dealing with the issue of gender-based violence. The chairperson have a special envoy on women, peace and security. And yeah, the special envoy deal particularly with violation, gender-based violence that are happening in conflict or post-conflict situation. So this is an office also that we need to target regarding the issue of gender-based violence. They work a lot, and they also do mission on the ground where they go to see the violation that are happening. They are really on the ground. The special envoy is really committed and really on the ground, and she really go to the people, and she philosophy also is just to go from the grassroots to the top level, and all their work is based on that and oriented on that issue. Her name is Bineta Diop. And we also have in the Department of Political Affairs, Peace and Security under conflict management, we have a women peace and security unit, a unit that is working specifically on women, peace and security issues, and they are also contributing a lot to that work. And also at our level in the Department of Political Affairs, when we get alerted about certain situation, we call the attention of the leadership on those situations, and that's how they will take decision on investigation or some other mission that could be done to support this implementation. So regarding the frustration about the AU and thinking that the AU is useless, yeah, it can be understandable because the AU, with regard to what we just discussed here, you can see that the AU is not useless. The AU is doing a lot of things. And also it is important to look at our education curricula, because the AU is an intergovernmental organization. The AU don't stand or live on its own. The AU is living because there are member states who are part of that organization. And member states have to also make sure that in the country level, education curricula include trainings on AU. Like I know, like for my case, I come from Burkina Faso, and in my education, even in primary education, we have a course where they would tell us about the African Union and how it has been founded. And we will not have all information, but we will have certain information about the organization, because education is very important in making sure that African citizens are aware of the African Union and what the African Union is doing. Because you take the various legal instruments, the AU have the African Charter on Human and People's Rights that enforce all political and civil and cultural economic rights. You see, and this charter has been ratified by almost all the member states. And at national level, you will find that this charter guides a lot of decisions at national level. Yeah, but people also need to be aware of that. The AU is trying to guide the process, and the work have to be taken in consideration. And what we are doing here is also to bring the AU to the grassroots level, is through the civil society organization, because if you get opportunity to attend a workshop and to learn about the AU and the work of the AU, you have to make sure that also it's implemented, because the AU is not me, it's not just me, it's Africa, and Africa is all African citizens. And each citizen also is part to play for the things to work. As we used to say, human rights is our collective responsibility. It's not the responsibility of one person, because when I talk about the human rights system, it's not just the AUC. AUC is the African Union Commission. We have the other organs, and we have the REX. The REX is at regional economic communities at the regional level. And we have member states who have the big role to play. And we have the citizens also who have a role to play. Within the CSOs have a role to play. That's why the African Commission accredited CSOs. That's why there is ECOSOC in the AU to make sure that they are also part of the process. So I think those are some of the responses I can bring to the question asked to me just now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Seraphine, for that detailed response, definitely very informative, especially from the questions that have been asked. I, for one, didn't know that you could go to the AU website and go to a specific issue and be able to, send an email, for instance, actually filing in a human rights violation. So definitely very informative. I can see there's more hands still up, or is it the same ones? But we've run out of time now, and I'm going to hand over back to Zaina to take us through the next part of the program.
Maybe just before Zaina comes in, just to appreciate Madam Seraphine again, just as Chipo has said, for finding time for joining us in this very, very important discussion. I think, as you said, awareness is key. Education about what Africa Union is doing and what it can do. And I think that's the gist of this discussion, as I believe it was Bongi who was talking, and the idea is to now make African Union be what we, the Africans, want it to be. And in the discussion that we had last week with the ambassador and Seraphine and the colleagues there, this is exactly what they want to do, to take African Union to the communities, to take African Union to the grassroots. So the question is, what role will we play in helping African Union realize that? It may be that up to now they have not lived to our expectations. It may be that for now we feel they're not felt, but then the question is, what are we doing as civil society? What are we doing as human rights defenders to make African Union be that which we feel it needs to be? So we thank you very much for your time, madam. We appreciate the very useful feedback you've given us. And of course, Chipo also, brilliant. And of course, everyone else who have contributed in one way or the other in this very, very important topic. So now Zaina will come in as we go through the second phase, and I'm seeing their hands already, and perhaps we'll be able to give everyone an opportunity to speak to this. So Zaina.
Thank you so much, Hussein. I was also about to say that such sentiments are what triggered us to reach out to AU and just to have them, discuss more with us and communities on the ground, just for them to be felt. Because as you have seen, Seraphine, not many people understand what exactly does AU do? How exactly do they intervene, and at what point do they intervene? So I think this is a journey that we've started, and hopefully next time we'll be able to meet more of your colleagues and also have departmental probably meetings or webinars where we can connect as communities and the AU, because there is, and I think this was agreed upon, that there is an information gap that makes it very difficult for communities to understand what exactly goes on at the AU level, and how can communities possibly directly contribute towards either the strategy or the policy processes, or even the consultations that you've talked about. Because I understand not only me, but we as an organization and we as Africans, as communities, now this time talking about the Southern Africa, there are many consultations that have been done, but rarely do people from the grassroots get to have this information. Rarely do people from the grassroots have a chance to contribute directly, to have their voices heard in these processes. So I am here to say that this is a process, that it's a journey that we've started, and hopefully by some time later we'll have bridged this gap to an extent that if someone wants any document from AU, if someone wants any to send in a request, for instance, for AU participation in any other organization's meeting, it will be easy to access information, access resources, and access those offices that are very critical for human rights work, not just in Southern Africa, but the whole of Africa. And that's why I've decided to have these meetings regionally split, so that we can have constructive discussions going forward. So at the moment, we now go into the human rights situation, human rights, peace and security situation in Southern Africa. And when we speak of Southern Africa, of course, there are a number of countries. We've also had a discussion with a partner, that is Crisis Action. I'll give them a bit of time to tell us what exactly they are doing in Mozambique, specifically dealing with the Cabo Delgado situation that I think all of us are aware about. And so recently, and this is not peculiar to the southern part of Africa, we've seen governments using the law, the legal system, in repressing voices, especially those of democracy and governance activists, human rights activists. We've seen in Zambia, where there's a Cyber Crimes Act that has been passed, and this will also suppress online activism, among other things. We've also seen the Constitutional Amendment number 2 being passed in Zimbabwe, and this will allow the president to, directly appoint judges, which will definitely affect the separation of powers. We've seen what's happening in terms of police brutality. I mean, if we are to mention each specific case that is coming from each country, we would take, I think, 2 days just discussing that. But at the moment, I know we appreciate, and thank you so much, Bonginkosi. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. Thank you so much for coming out and giving us the brutal truth. But hopefully we'll work towards how we can address the sexual and gender-based violence that is happening in South Africa and other countries in the South. This, just so you know, this is also happening. And just the other day, we gave out a statement on sexual and gender-based violence in Kenya as well. So these are some challenges that are happening across the continent. And I remember Ambassador Salah saying he would wish that we, together with communities, come up with the way of having a campaign or an intervention that will be holistic and will also address including teenage pregnancies, not just the assault that happens. So for now, allow me to also invite Patricia Nyaundi from Crisis Action to also come to speak to us about the intervention in Mozambique, because I know as much as we have human rights, can I call it crisis in our respective countries, Mozambique is another level. Mozambique is another whole situation that needs our attention, and they need solidarity. And I also just urge partners and all of us who are here in this call, and those of us who are following us in maybe on Facebook and YouTube, that we are always there for us, to work together. And it is through our concerted efforts that we will be able to fight the vices that we are seeing in communities. Patricia, if you can hear me.
Thank you, Zaina. I appreciate the opportunity, and hello, colleagues. I join the other participants in appreciating the participation of Madame Seraphine from the AU and the extent to which she has clarified how, as a civil society community organizations, we can engage with her department. Very much appreciated. Colleagues, as Zaina pointed out, and I am very grateful for the opportunity provided, I would like to share with you an ongoing campaign responding to the crisis in Cabo Delgado. So as Crisis Action, we are coordinating partners who feel that there is need for voices to speak out against the militarized response to the crisis. Those of you who have followed the story of Cabo Delgado, you will know that for the past 5 years, that particular region has witnessed great and gross violations, almost 600,000 people displaced, high numbers killed, high incidence of sexual gender-based violence. And the dominant narrative is that that region is confounded by an Islamic insurgency. On the ground, however, there is a strong feeling that really that crisis is around the unaddressed issues around marginalization, that communities' livelihoods are being adversely affected without an appropriate response by the government. Many of us in this region will readily appreciate the consequences of poor governance and how this relates to the human rights of individuals. So in Cabo Delgado, what we are witnessing is an area where the government has actually restricted access by media and civil society. It is impossible for them to access that region, but at the same time, continue to witness massive displacements as security operations are conducted there. Now, the urgency of the moment is that the SADC double troika organ is actually sitting this moment and tomorrow to make a decision on the intervention that SADC as an organ will the response they will have to the Cabo Delgado. The indications is like almost everyone else, the US, the EU, they are leaning towards a militarized response. So together with our partners, we feel that there is need to really articulate, that a solely militarized approach has not worked anywhere, and that the approach that will work is really one that seeks to address the underlying drivers of that conflict. So my appeal on this call would be, to the extent that this falls within your mandate, to lend support to that initiative. One possible way is by signing on to that letter that I have pasted in the chat. We hope to send out that letter in the next 30 minutes. So those of you who are able and have the institutional mandate to encourage you to sign on to that letter. Tomorrow, we also plan to have a Twitter storm. I think that's what I am told it is, that amplifies this message between 9 to 11 a.m. South African time. And my appeal is that, really observing that a number of you are from the southern region, and in fact, I believe South Africa is represented here, and Mozambique, Angola, the neighboring countries. We would really appreciate if you can mobilize your constituencies so that I think SADC gets the message loud and clear that the response to this crisis has got to be people-centered, one that pays attention to the underlying issues that have not been addressed, and also importantly, ensures humanitarian access to the affected populations, which is a big, big challenge right now in Cabo Delgado. Zaina has my contacts. If any of you, feels inspired to be part of this ongoing campaign, please reach out to Zaina, and she'll be able to put us in touch so that you can also be in the campaign as it continues to unfold. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Zaina.
Thank you very much, Patricia. I would urge all of us, especially those of us who belong to any kind of organization, to just check out the link on the chat. And if you read and you feel, that you want to be part of that letter, kindly send in the name of your organization, and you can also place your logo on the same as we continue with this kind of solidarity efforts. So for now, I would like to also open the floor for any further reflections. I'm seeing on the chat that we have people commenting, and thank you so much, Seraphine, for still staying with us till now. We do not take this for granted. So someone is saying that, okay, commending you and taking us through the process, but also saying that if you could kindly take the reflections put herein back, as this will be another critical pathway to intensify engagement. Posting things online is fine, but we also know there are so many Africans that are digitally excluded. And this takes me to the point where, Seraphine, just to explain to you why there's also this kind of, can I say, bitter feeling with AU, is because, just like you've said, there are many postings on the website, but not so many African youth have access to internet, for example. We still have in this continent challenges with electricity, places where, and even as we're on this call, there are other many people who wanted to join but struggled. And I got that message from Mozambique, people who are still struggling with electricity and internet. And so I'm hoping that going forward, with the relationship that we've started to build right now, is that you can easily channel information, not just in the website and maybe the other international organizations, but through grassroots organizations like ourselves, like the many who have joined in this call, just to ensure that the information from the AU trickles down towards the grassroots individuals and communities, and for better action and for even better understanding of the interventions made by the African Union. So at this point, I would also like to say that we are here not just for the discussion purposes. We have a rapporteur who's taking notes and trying to highlight, to capture the action points that community members have raised as a priority issue for the African Union to consider as they develop their new strategy. So we had a discussion with the AU and we decided we cannot, as Haki Africa, sit and decide that these are the priority areas that people of the South are thinking about. That's why we have such kind of a meeting. So please, if you have any other comment or focus area that you think the African Union should prioritize in their new strategy, then kindly just let us know. So Mbongi, allow me to call you Mbongi for now. You can unmute and just say your comment.
Thank you very much, when I program direct. No, I will not cry again, but I have a lot of issues with AU and SADC region, but it's fine. Let me ask my questions. I have 3 questions for Patricia there. I hope she has a pen so that she can capture them properly. The first question that I want to ask is that, Patricia, can you please clarify us here, why has it taken so long for the SADC region to actually intervene in Mozambique? Because I feel like the SADC region only intervened when it realized that America and UN are sending troops into Mozambique. And like you said earlier on, that history has shown us that sending military in places like that has never been the solution. And then number 2, what's the view of SADC on the unlawful arrest of journalists in Zimbabwe? As we have seen earlier on, Hopewell Chinon was exonerated by the High Court in Zimbabwe, and he was arrested by the government. And then number 3, lastly, why has there been no plans by the SADC region to unify the SADC region? I mean, have one currency in order to improve the economy in the SADC region. And then number 2, that having one currency and unifying the region would actually also help to revive countries like Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Council Patricia? Patricia, if you can hear me.
Yes, Zaina, and I think, thank you, comrade, for that contribution. I am completely on the same side with you. This is the reason for this intervention, to really emphasize that there is no way we can be talking about a military intervention as the response to the crisis in Cabo Delgado. And because we are also a campaign and advocacy organization who coordinates campaigns, coalitions. So in this instance, we are coordinating a campaign that seeks to amplify the voices of civilians within this region, demanding that SADC in intervening, and I agree with you in this delayed response, that it then adopts a response that is in the interests of the civilians. So, comrade, I think my appeal would be, if you are able to please append your signature to that letter, because that is the message of that letter. Thank you very much.
I hope, Bongi, I hope your questions have been addressed. And even if, they've been partly addressed, as I explained earlier, that this is a process. We have just started, and we understand the sentiments coming from you. We are totally, understanding the situation that you are in and the perspective from which you're speaking. So at the moment, I'd like us to just focus on what we would wish the AU to focus on as they develop their new strategy. And Seraphine is here to listen to us, to take note of whatever will have been said in this meeting, so that by the time we are reaching out again to them, we'll have a legitimate action point that would wish the AU engage us as a human rights organization and human rights defenders as well. So if you could just put down in the chat, or anyone else who has a contribution. We've had issues of sexual and gender-based violence. We have had issues of the LGBTQI. We also have had issues of the harassment of HRDs, especially those who are speaking against poor governance and human rights issues that are happening in the southern region. Okay, so there's a comment here. Would you wish to speak out, or do you wish that I read the comment?
Hi, Zaina. It's okay, I can speak out.
Thank you.
I think because you have a rapporteur there, I'm sure maybe they're also able to pick up on these issues. But I think from the conversations that are going on, I think one thing that AU needs to do is to try and increase its visibility in respective countries and reinforce its relevance. Because from all what people are saying, there's definitely an issue there with the AU. It must also have a rapid response to issues, because we've seen that there are a number of pertinent issues that people feel the AU hasn't been able to intervene. So yeah, it must have rapid response to issues as one way of reinforcing its relevance. I think I'll keep on putting some suggestions in the box. Thank you so much, Zaina.
Thank you so much, Tawonga. Is there anyone else who has any other contribution before we get to the closing remarks? Anyone, those of us who haven't spoken, please remember that this is a free space. We are here to engage as equals, as Africans, as brothers and sisters. So kindly do not shy away. Yes, I can see a hand. Please just unmute and speak.
Thanks, Zaina. Am I audible?
Yes.
So first, I want to say many thanks to the African Union delegation for such a good presentation. And I want to thank colleagues that have been sharing such good insights on the conduct of AU. But what I also think we need to do when you look at the issue of Mozambique that Crisis Action is working on is as civic society organizations, human rights organizations, and other grassroots organizations, we need to also have a technical dialogue on the capacity of the SADC countries who are wishing to assist Mozambique through military assistance on the capacity, because one thing that I see most African countries doing is to risk their soldiers and probably to escalate the issue. Because you can tell from the presenter that any efforts to use military intervention to resolve such a crisis has not worked anywhere. And we don't need to take a risk of really worsening the situation. We need to have calculated approach, because it's not really an issue of fame, because it involves lives here, and it actually might trigger more response that might be very disastrous to the citizens in respective countries, particularly neighboring countries. I'll talk of Angola, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. We might be at risk because of that. And also as Southern Africa, I think we need also to have a cooperation that is visible between SADC and African Union, because we don't really need to really have different meeting outcomes and which address the same issues. Sometimes might actually disturb how citizens can then support the efforts that are being made by national leaders. So we need a coordinated collaboration, which make sure that we speak with one voice and we have a coordinated, systematic strategy to really deal with the challenges that arise. And probably also SADC, is time also they rethink of reviving the SADC Tribunal, because if SADC Tribunal is not going to be working, or we don't have a strong institution at SADC level to really document and hold the perpetrators of human rights to account at SADC level, we might also risk a challenge of having AU taking time to resolve these issues, because really to wait for African Union to coordinate these issues might take long. But we should have strong institutions at regional levels like SADC, Western Africa. They have their strong regional institution so that we respond to these issues effectively and swiftly. That's my contribution. Otherwise, thanks colleagues for taking part in this imperative meeting.
Thank you so much, comrade, for your contribution. Do we have anyone else? I can see Mbongi also said, why are we not the generation that can unify the region? Why do we always point fingers at each other? So I will reiterate that this is just the beginning, and hopefully we can connect not just at the southern regional level, but as Africans as a whole. Because just I was speaking to a colleague and I said, Africa is like a body. If the head aches, other parts of the body are affected. If the stomach aches, other parts of the body are affected. So this is the beginning, and we in the spirit of Undugu for us in East Africa, or Ubuntu for those of us in Southern Africa, we need to understand that if one of us is affected, if one country is affected, whether we like it or not, our respective countries will be affected, because there's a way we are connected through trade, through culture, through art, through religion. There's so much that connects us to be one, instead of, having, or rather working in silos and making things become difficult when it comes to solidarity actions. So this is my call to all of us, that let's keep on connecting, let's keep on sharing information. As we have seen, the African Union is now willing to come down to the grassroots, to hear what the people have to say, to hear the voices of the people, so that when they develop strategies, then this will include our voices as community members. And once we have information on how the African Union works and we understand the processes, then it will make it easy for us to hold our governments accountable for all the atrocities that we are going through, whether it's SGBV, talk about police brutality, talk about all the violence that is happening, others, some because of the economic inequalities that we have in our respective countries. So I'd like to, wait. Okay, I was just reading on the chat and someone is saying pertinent part is saying pertinent issues there, wish we could take the discussion out of the platform. Definitely we'll continue engaging. We will share contacts and we will also add each other in our other networks that are beyond this call. It is not possible to resolve African issues in one call, but as we said, this is just the beginning. So we'll definitely continue engaging you, and so that we all of us have information. I will also urge those of us who are here and have people who have not joined to share information with the rest, that now African Union has come to the grassroots and is willing to listen to us, to input, our voices in their strategies, and to work together with us in implementing all these, commitments that our governments have committed, but are still dilly-dallying in terms of implementation. And once we know this, then it will be easy for us, for our solidarity actions, for our, accountability actions to our respective governments. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I see it is 13 minutes to time. I'm glad that we've managed to make it within 2 hours. And in case you would wish to communicate with us directly, I would like to ask our comms person, Ruth, to kindly share our contacts, our email contacts on the chat, so that if anyone has any issue that they would wish solidarity support with, you can directly reach out to us, or you can directly reach to any member that has joined this call, so we see how we can synergize and harness our efforts towards unifying the region and towards engaging the African Union at the grassroots level. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining this call, for taking your time to come and listen. And many thanks for Seraphine from AU. Thank you so much for joining us and staying with us all through. I'd like to say Asante Sana. Thank you.
Asante Sana.